If they actually wished for a two-state solution, Hamas going would actually be the precondition to any of that happening. None of them are calling for any of that. They're not calling for the release of hostages. All they're calling for is a ceasefire that would allow Hamas to continue to survive. That comes from one of two places. Either actual radical Islamism, which is a serious problem in Middle Eastern studies departments around the country and among administrators and among some students, or it's a moral relativism and an intersectional theory of the world in which the quote-unquote powerless and dispossessed are an alliance against the more powerful, and the Jews are quote-unquote the more powerful.
Ladies and gentlemen, your favorite Zionist white colonizer coming to you live from the United States of America. I'm Tall, the Traveling Clat, and we're looking at a trailer from Ben Shapiro. Let's take a look here.
Ben Shapiro, get alive!
The truth is, for a very long time, professors and administrators at major college campuses have been supportive of terror groups, including Hamas and Hezbollah, going all the way back to when I was in college. What's happening right now is that the mask is coming off and people are beginning to notice. All of that was hidden under the surface of broader, quote-unquote, anti-Zionist concerns, or opposition to policies of the State of Israel, or oppositions to Benjamin Netanyahu. And it turns out that all of that was a lie, that what that really was simply a cover for Jew hatred, which is why you're seeing mass protests in favor of Hamas. It's why you're seeing solidarity on behalf of Hamas. I've yet to see any of these professors actually condemn what Hamas did or call for Hamas to be deposed in the Gaza Strip.
It was exhilarating, it was energetic, it was exhilarating.
If they actually wished for a two-state solution, Hamas going would actually be the precondition to any of that happening. None of them are calling for any of that. They're not calling for the release of hostages. All they're calling for is a ceasefire that would allow Hamas to continue to survive. That comes from one of two places. Either actual radical Islamism, which is a serious problem in Middle Eastern studies departments around the country and among administrators and among some students, or it's a moral relativism and an intersectional theory of the world in which the quote-unquote powerless and dispossessed are an alliance against the more powerful, and the Jews are quote-unquote the more powerful. And what you're seeing is all these organizations that are aligned against all sorts of discrimination and marginalization except for the Jews. When it comes to the Jews, because the Jews are too powerful, because the Jews are quote-unquote white, because the Jews are quote-unquote colonizers, that means that the Jews can be targeted at women at will. And what Hamas is doing is actually an act of decolonization. It's freedom fighting, it's not actual baby murder.
If we don't step up boldly and courageously to end the imperialist project that's called Israel, we're doomed.
Shapiro!
Yeah, it's certainly not easy to be a conservative on college campuses these days. You have a lot of administrators who are directly opposed to your point of view. You have administrators who are willing to look the other way at students who are mistreating you on campus. And of course, you have student groups and groups of students who are out to, in some cases, even physically harm you. It takes a lot of strength and it takes a lot of concerted willpower to go into the battle, but my mentor Andrew Breitbart used to say that walking toward the fire was always the best strategy, because the further you walk into the fire, the more you realize how little it burns. And that's certainly true for college students, who very often take these strong stands and it feels terrible in the moment, and then as they keep walking forward, they realize it's building a strength in them they didn't know they had.
And you know what? We're making our presence known. We're proud fags and trannies, and we're not going anywhere.
It's unbelievably important that YAF be on college campuses. College campuses have been overtaken by moral relativism and stupidity. Many of them are, frankly, not worth the paper the degrees are printed on at this point, but that's why YAF exists, is to make those degrees actually worthwhile by providing an opposing point of view, by giving students a place to go where they can get some logic and some reason and some decency, all things that seem to be in abeyance at major universities across the country.
I believe the reason why they are religiously extreme is because of the conditions that they live under, because of the actions of America.
That's absurd and foolish. I'm sorry, that's absurd and foolish. At a certain point, people are going to have to take responsibility for their own actions and stop blaming America and the West for making shitty decisions. What YAF is doing on campus is really important, because in exposing what's going on college campuses and bringing outside voices in, that does take the mask off. And what that means is that either higher education is going to have to change or it's going to die. I'm very happy to see that alum of schools are pulling their money from these universities. I've been advocating that for literally decades. I'm sad that it took until now for people to realize that signing checks to universities that hate your values, hate America, hate Israel, hate a lot of decent things, that it took until now for people to realize that and stop signing checks to those things. But it's about time for that to happen. I'm hopeful that outside pressure from both donors and students, parents, and the business community, that could change educational institutions into what they once were, places of education.
Great trailer for Young American Foundation. I mean, we've done a lot of reaction to their content, debating college students. I think that's also a big reason as to why I'm here in America. I can't say too much yet, but I promise you guys, we've been talking about it for a couple months now. I'm gonna try. You know, I'll be honest. I haven't gotten tons of support since I got to America. Not in a sense of financial support, but support to actually get into these areas and to make these things happen. So a lot of it I might have to mobilize on my own, which might make things a little messy. I was totally expecting to come here to America and just have like a bunch of open doors, but I realized like the Jewish sort of Israel advocacy world is not as receptive to me as I thought it was going to be. Unfortunately, you guys obviously love me, and I would say we're probably the top YouTube channel right now when it comes to Israel / Middle East politics. At least numbers wise, we're growing like wildfire. It's insane. But from the perspective of actual advocacy and advocates on the ground, I've gotten zero, nothing. Like, there's very few people who have reached out to support to actually bring me to talk, to bring me to these college campuses. So I'm trying to mobilize some of these things on my own so we can really show you guys what Tal is capable of on college campus and how we can maybe change people's minds. Hoping, again, I don't want to speak just blindly. I do have to get back to Israel at some point. It's taking a lot longer than expected, but we're going to do our best while I'm here. I'm going to try to make the most of the time we can. But I think that this thing that Ben Shapiro was talking about, this cancer that's on college campus in America right now, it needs to be addressed and it needs to be changed. And it looks like we are heading in the direction where it's going to be changed, because the pendulum, I believe politically always swings. The pendulum was swinging in one direction for a very, very long time. And you can kind of see that the world, and I see this just from like Instagram comment sections and TikTok comment sections and this sort of like hyper leftism, identity politics, race politics things. The world has changed. Like, people are less open to it now. I think things are changing. And I do believe that the anti-Zionism / anti-Israel cancer that's in society right now is changeable. I think people like me and other advocates who look like me and talk like me are probably the key to fixing that, to changing that. And we'll just have to keep fighting this good fight, and hopefully we can get to a point where we're very powerful, very vocal, and people are actually listening to us. Because I think the more of us that flood into the scene, I mean, I was talking about this for months now, Yemenite Jews, Iraqi Jews, Ethiopian Jews, Jews from every different background you can imagine, Caribbean Jews, throw us into the mix, put us on the front line in the streets of America, and you'll have a very, very hard time combating the truth, because in reality, we're the majority of Israel. And we're the culture of Israel. I'll say we're where the culture of Israel gravitates to, is the Mizrahi Jews, the brown Jews, the black Jews. And I'm not trying to color everything. I'm not saying I don't want to put Ashkenazi Jews on the fringes of society ever. God forbid. We love and support our Ashkenazi brother and sisters no matter what. But the reality is, Ashkenazi Jews in America have had 100 years to be the front and the face of Judaism and honestly the state of Israel. It's time for a change. It is time for us to all come together and say, we are going to throw en masse the Mizrahi Jews and the black Jews, the African Jews, the Afro Jews into the face of everybody to step up against what this identity politics and this sort of hyper-liberalism on college campuses in the left of America has done. And this is how we can kind of change the narrative of what Israel is in the eyes of the U.S. and hopefully in the eyes of the world. And yeah, I really believe that's a solution. So if you guys do want to partner with me on this, if you believe in my message, I'm here in America right now. Email me at collab.travelingclat@gmail.com. You know, things are filling up. We're trying to fill up the schedule, but I'm here for a while, and I'd really love to come speak at your college campus, speak with your students, speak with the university, come onto college campuses. Lots of opportunities for us to work together. Just email me at collab.travelingclat@gmail.com. And let's make something great happen. And please do consider supporting the channel. See you guys in the next one. I love you a long time. Goodbye.
If you believe in my content and want to support me, just know your help is needed. There's a bunch of great ways to support me, being PayPal, Buy Me a Coffee, or joining my Patreon community down below. Patreon is the best way to support my channel, and you'll get a bunch of cool perks depending on what tier you join. Another great way to support me is by buying my merchandise on thetravelingclat.com. I regularly drop new merch designs like this beautiful hat, or this amazing shirt, where you can support the channel and get something cool for yourself. I also have an amazing Discord community with people from all over the world. Thank you so much for your support.